Hello there guys, and welcome back to another episode of How to Feed the Beast in Minecraft. In today's video I'm going to be covering a selection of items from the thermal expansion that some of you guys have been asking me to cover for a little while now. The items that I'm going to cover are Tesseracts. Tesseracts are designed to wirelessly transmit various things from one location to another and over huge distances. There are three types of Tesseract: items, liquid, and energy. Tesseracts can send over any distance. They can even send cross-dimension. This means that a liquid Tesseract is an ideal way to transport lava from the nether to the real world. Providing the sending and receiving chunks are both loaded, it will work over any distance. So you may need a chunk loader or a world anchor at the other end just to keep that chunk loaded in. Now, Tesseracts are nice and easy to build. They can be a little on the expensive side, but when you consider the amount of materials that you can save building pipes and cables, they really do pay for themselves. We have all the infrastructure in place to put them together, most of the component parts we've built before, so let's head on over to the workshop and I can show you guys how to put them together and how they work. Okay guys, so you're going to need two machines in order to make Tesseracts, both of which we've made on previous episodes, and those are the liquid transposer and the magma crucible. Now what we would need those for is we need to turn ender pearls into liquid ender. Now I do have my normal magma crucible here, but because I've built all my tanks on the outside of the building and I didn't want to have to pipe my liquid ender in, an ideal way of doing it if you're just making one-offs is to actually have a second magma crucible on top of your liquid transposer. The magma crucible has the bottom slot set to orange, which is the liquid output, and the liquid transposer has the top slot set to blue, which is the input. So if I go ahead and pop some ender pearls in there, those ender pearls will get turned into liquid. That liquid will go straight out and start to fill the tank of the liquid transposer. So let's move on to the next step while those ender eyes are turning into liquid. Now what you need to remember is you're going to need 4 ender pearls to make a single Tesseract, and you are going to need at least 2 Tesseracts to make a working system. All Tesseracts start with a basic Tesseract frame. Now that's probably the most expensive part to build because it requires a diamond in the middle. 4 hardened glass, top, bottom, left and right. 4 tin ingots in the 4 corners, and that will give you a Tesseract frame. Now this is the reason we have been making our liquid ender. We need to take our Tesseract frame and put the Tesseract frame in the liquid transposer. It'll take a few seconds to complete, and there we go. We now have an unattuned Tesseract. So I'm going to take that. I've got some more that I made earlier so I can demonstrate each one for you guys. Are we finished with those ender pearls? Yes we have. Let's turn the power off there. So back over to the crafting table. Now there are a couple of things that we have made on previous episodes that I'm just very quickly going to cover again. One of those is the pneumatic servo. Now you'll need pneumatic servos for item Tesseracts and liquid Tesseracts. They're very easy to make. A redstone in the middle, glass either side, and an iron ingot top and bottom, and that will give you a pneumatic servo. So let's make the Tesseracts, and I will do the easiest ones first. The first thing you want to do, and this is going to be the same for all 3 Tesseracts, is to put an unattuned Tesseract in the centre slot of a crafting table. They all require a silver ingot either side, to the left and right. And we're going to build our item Tesseract first, which means a tin ingot at the top middle, a tin ingot at the bottom corners, left and right, and a pneumatic servo in the bottom middle. And that will give us our item Tesseract. Now the liquid Tesseract's very easy, built in the same way. Unattuned Tesseract in the middle, silver ingot either side, tin ingots in the bottom left and bottom right corner, pneumatic servo in the bottom middle, but instead of a tin ingot in the top centre, you want a copper ingot. So the only difference between the item Tesseract and the liquid Tesseract is a tin or copper ingot in the top slot. The most difficult Tesseract to make is the energy Tesseract, and what we're going to need to make that is a couple of items that we haven't yet built. We're going to need electrum. Now luckily we have all we need to build that, so I'm going to turn the power on because we need our induction smelter. In our induction smelter you want to put gold ingots and silver ingots. And gold and silver ingots will give you electrum ingots. Now you're going to need 2 electrum ingots per energy tesseract, and of course you're going to need 2 energy tesseracts to make it work. So we have our 4 electrum ingots. Back over to the crafting table. Now the first thing that you are going to want to make is by placing an electrum ingot in the centre of the crafting table and a redstone diagonally in the top right bottom left corner will give you a redstone conductance coil, and that is one of the ingredients we need here. So in order to make the energy tesseract, unattuned tesseract in the middle as before, the redstone conductance coil replaces the pneumatic servo in the bottom middle, silver ingots either side again as with the other 2. But this time we have lead ingots in the bottom 2 corners instead of tin, and then our second electrum ingot goes at the top and gives us our energy tesseract. So we now have the energy tesseract, the liquid tesseract, and the item tesseract. So I'm going to grab another one of each from the chest and pop outside and show you guys how they work. Okay, so I've got a few little setups here. First of all, let's demonstrate the easiest of the 3, the item tesseract. So what you can see is I have a chest here with some cobblestone in it, actually some smooth stone. We have a wooden transport pipe with a redstone engine, some normal stone transport pipe, and then over here some more stone transport pipe and an empty chest. Now item tesseracts can transport any item that can travel through a Buildcraft pipe or through a red power pneumatic pipe. You can also connect a thermal expansion machine directly to an item tesseract and it will pump directly through. So I'm going to put one tesseract down on this end and the second tesseract down here. Nothing connecting them in the middle. Let's move that back out of my way. So if I right click on the tesseract, you will see the interface we have here. First of all, this button for configuration allows us to set the device to owner only or public access. This should be pretty obvious. If you set it to owner only, only the person that owns it, that places the block down, can actually transmit or receive to and from this tesseract. You've also got the second option, which allows you to make the tesseract one way, so send only, receive only, or send and receive. Like most thermal expansion machines, you also have the redstone control, which allows you to completely disable redstone control so it isn't affected. You can have it set to low, so if the machine receives a redstone signal it will stop working, or you can have it set to high, so if the machine isn't receiving a redstone signal it will stop working. But we'll just leave it on the standard setting because we don't really need to mess around with that at the moment. Now what you need to do with these devices is set them a frequency. I haven't got any set up currently, so I'm going to give this frequency number 1. So I'm going to put number 1 in here, click the tick, and now it's set to frequency 1. Now if I go over to my receiving tesseract, I could put frequency 1 in there and hit the tick. However, if you want to avoid having to remember them, especially if you've got a lot of different ones, you can give it a frequency and then you can actually set a name. So if I can type and call this items 1 and hit the plus button there, hit escape to get out of that. If I go over to this tesseract, you can now see that items 1 is there. So if I click on that and click tick, it sets the frequency to 1. So it's a great idea and a great way, not having to remember the numbers, you can just set a name for each of them. So if I turn on the engine, we should start pumping the smooth stone through the wooden transport pipe. It will then pass into the stone transport pipe and then into the tesseract. Now if you are using Buildcraft transport pipes, as I am here, you don't require a wooden transport pipe to suck the items out of the receiving tesseract. They'll be pumped out automatically and go into your destination chest or machine. If you choose to use red power pneumatic pipes, you will need, however, to place a relay next to the receiving Tesseract to be able to draw the items out. So there's the item Tesseract, nice and easy. Let's kill the engine to reduce lag. Next, let's have a look at the liquid Tesseract. Now, this works in pretty much the same way. What you can see I have here is a Buildcraft tank with oil, just to make it easier to see. Another Buildcraft tank on the opposite side. We're going to pop the liquid Tesseract down here and here. Now, what I'm actually using for this one is liquid ducts, but you can also use waterproof Buildcraft pipes. That works just the same. And this works exactly the same way. So if I go to my liquid Tesseract, now you'll see that the frequency name set for the item Tesseract doesn't appear on the liquid Tesseract. They're separate frequencies, so if I wanted, I could give this frequency number 1 and it wouldn't conflict with the item Tesseract. So let's call this oil 1 and add that. If I now go to my receiving Tesseract and click on oil and the tick, and it's now set to frequency 1. Let's turn on the power here. We are now pumping oil out of the tank into the Tesseract. And as you can see on this side, we're now pumping oil out of the Tesseract and into the tank on the other side. As with using Buildcraft pipes, you don't actually need power to pump the oil out on the opposite side, or the liquid out on the opposite side. So all you need is power to draw liquid into the Tesseract, and it will draw out without power on the other side. Good thing with using the liquid ducts here, of course, is they're reversible. Because these Tesseracts are set to send and receive, what we could do is use our crescent hammers and change the flow of the pipes. Might need to move my lever slightly. Let's just dig that one up because it's in the wrong place. Put that lever there, flick the switch, and we are now pumping the oil back out of this tank through the Tesseracts back into the other tank. So there we go, oil from the right to the left. And if we turn off that one and turn on that one and give these a bash with the crescent hammer so they're going in the right direction, we are now transmitting the oil from the left to the right. So Tesseracts and aqueducts, or liquiducts, sorry, Tesseracts and liquiducts are a brilliant way to move liquids around. Let's turn those off. Okay, the most complicated of the three, the final one, the Energy Tesseract. Now unfortunately, Energy Tesseracts only work with Buildcraft power, so power from engines in MJ. So if you want to transmit industrial craft power, you're going to need to convert it to MJ first, but that's something we're going to cover in another video. So I'm going to pop these two Tesseracts down here and here. We have a peat-fired engine connected to a redstone energy conduit, and our two Tesseracts and another redstone energy conduit connected to this thermionic fabricator, which, as you can see by this empty bar, has no power currently. Again, make sure you use the crescent hammer to make sure that the inputs and outputs are in the right direction. Look at the flow of the arrows, so that's an arrow pointing out and an arrow pointing in. I'm going to set the frequency. Again, they don't conflict with the other two, so we can give it frequency number 1. Let's call that power 1. Give it a name. If we go over to our other Tesseract, power 1 is there, hit the tick, and there we go. Let's turn on our engine. Our engine will start to produce power. If we go over to our thermionic fabricator, in a short amount of time, we will start to get some power through. It does take a little while to heat up. Let's have a look at the thermionic fabricator. And there you go. You can see we are starting to gain power. Not a huge amount, but power we are gaining nonetheless. Fortunately, the thermionic fabricator does eat through power even when it's not doing anything. But as you can see, we are transmitting the power wirelessly. Now there are two important things to remember about the energy tesseracts, and that is, firstly, they can only handle 100 MJ per tick each. It's the maximum you can put into a single energy tesseract. They also suffer a 25% energy loss, so even if you are putting 100 MJ per tick into the sending tesseract, the receiving tesseract is only going to get 75 MJ per tick. So if you want to transmit a lot of power from one place to another, you may need to have multiple sending tesseracts on different frequencies, multiple receiving tesseracts on different frequencies, and then feed them all into your one destination machine. The reason I say different frequencies is because it is actually possible to run several tesseracts on the same frequency. A good example would be, if we were looking at our item tesseract, I might have a chest here or even a sorting facility, and this is my receiving tesseract, and I might have 3 different quarries, and all 3 quarries could feed into a separate sending tesseract because they could be in different places around the world. All of those tesseracts could be on the same frequency and feed the items into the same chest or the same sorting facility. Now the same thing works with liquids. You can have one tesseract feed into multiple tesseracts, or multiple tesseracts feed into a single tesseract. Same works with energy as well, but remember you still have that limitation of 100 MJ per tick. So it doesn't matter if you have 20 engines with 20 tesseracts, you can't feed them all into a single receiving tesseract because it can only handle 100 MJ per tick. And there you go, the 3 different types of tesseracts, how to build them and how to use them. So then guys, I think that just about wraps us up for the thermal expansion. We've pretty much covered all it has to offer. Tesseracts are a brilliant way to wirelessly transmit energy, items and liquids across huge distances. They are a little expensive to build, but they're well worth it if you can put them together. I hope as always you found this video informative and entertaining. It's you guys that really help make this channel grow, so if you have, please like, share and subscribe. Remember also to follow me on Facebook and Twitter, and if you have any ideas for future videos, please either send me a message or leave it in the comments below. If there's a particular machine, item or mod you'd like to see me build and demonstrate, I'll get it added to the list and try and cover it in a future video. So until next time, I've been UnstableVoltage, this has been How to Feed the Beast in Minecraft, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye for now.